Moving on now to the big story that we are continuously tracking, Raut Chawl Gate. 2 days after arresting Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut for the Patra Chawl land scam, the Enforcement Directorate is today conducting fresh raids at 2 locations linked to the jailed MP. But even as the crackdown continues, let's for a moment take a step back from the prosecution and focus on the persecution. This case is not just about Sanjay Raut or the Enforcement Directorate or the BJP. It is about 672 families from the Patra Chawl who were to be rehabilitated in flats to be built by MHADA, the Maharashtra Housing Development Authority, and Guru Ashish Constructions, except that those flats were never built. Instead, that land was given to private builders who made private housing societies on it and sold it to private individuals. 14 years later, all they have are broken dreams, debts and destitution.
ये सब 2008 में एक ट्राईपार्टी एग्रीमेंट हुआ है और ये पहला एग्रीमेंट हुआ है और वो अभी तक वो पूरा नहीं हुआ है। पहली बार ऐसा हुआ है लेकिन उसको कुछ सक्सेस हुआ नहीं और लोग 5 साल से हमें भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है। 5 साल से काम बंद था और आज हम लोग भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है। वो सबसे बड़ा परेशानी वही है हमारी आज।
ऐसा है कि पहले हम लोग हमारी पहले की कमेटी पे डिपेंड रहा करते थे कि वो कमेटी कुछ तो करेगी, लेकिन जब पता चला कि भाई ये कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, जहाँ तक कि वो बिल्डर को टर्मिनेट करने का था, एक लेटर तक नहीं दिया भाड़ा में उन्होंने, ना कहीं किसी के बारे में कि भाई इन पे अन्याय और इनको भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है। तो उसके बाद में हमने लड़ाई थोड़ी संघर्ष तीव्र कर लिया। हमने उपोषण किया, 2 बार भाड़ा पे मोर्चा लेके गए थे हम लोग। एक बार हमने उपोषण किया तो देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहब आए थे। वेरी इमीडिएटली उद्धव साहब का भी फोन आया कि भाई आप ये उपोषण पीछे लो, मेरी सरकार है, मैं आपको न्याय दिला दूंगा। उसके बाद कोर्ट कचहरी तो रेगुलर रहा करता था जी। और ईओडब्ल्यू में भी कंप्लेंट हमने की थी। नई कमेटी ने तो बहुत तकलीफ दी थी हम लोगों को, सही बात है। उसके बाद चुनाव हुआ, चुनाव में हम लोग हमारे 19 के 19 पैनल चुन के आए।
माड़ा बोलते आज मिलेगा और सरकार बोलते आज मिलेगा, कभी मिलेगा? मिलने का बाद कितना लोग मरा रूम करके, फिर रूम तो नहीं मिला। अभी भी बोलते है रूम देंगे, भाड़ा देंगे, कभी देंगे? हम लोग मरने के बाद देंगे। अगर भाड़ा टाइम पे नहीं जाता है तो वो लोग बोलता है रूम खाली करो। आज खाया, कल का इतना ये होता है कि कल कैसा पकाएंगे, क्या पकाएंगे। अभी मेरे ऊपर 2 लाख रुपए का ऊपर कर्जा हुआ है, मैं किधर से दूँ? उसको बोलो जिसने हमारा घर लिया है उसको बोलो हम लोग को जेर ला के दो, हम खत्म करेंगे खेल। आज देंगे, कल देंगे, कभी मरने के बाद हमारा रूम देंगे हमको? कितना लोग तो मेरा बाजू वाला मर गया रूम मिल।
The charge is that money from this sale went to Sanjay Raut's close aide Praveen Raut, who then routed it to Sanjay Raut through various favors. The Enforcement Directorate claims that Praveen Raut, a close associate of Sanjay Raut and other directors of Guru Ashish Constructions, misled MHADA and sold the land to 9 private developers, collecting almost 900 crore rupees, without constructing either the rehab portion for the 672 displaced tenants or the MHADA portion. Now, as Shiv Sena led by Uddhav Thackeray and its allies try to defend Raut by calling Enforcement Directorate crackdown political vendetta, with left in the lurch, locals and BJP ask, has politics turned netas blind to poor people's pain?
Don't try to, just divert the issues. You have an issue. Let the inquiry go on. We never said, Congress never objected. Only Congress is saying, let it not be a political vendetta. We are very clear in our mind, right? So, they should get their justice, no doubt about it. As a Mumbai president, yes, I am with them. But at the same time, why don't you talk about 100 crore people? 140 crore people are staying in this country. Their issue we are raising. Poor people issues we are raising.
All right, let's open this up and look. Let's go across to our guests on the panel. We have Shaina NC, BJP spokesperson, Varun Singh Sr, journalist, Yogi Gade, Shiv Sena leader, and Meeta Chakrabarti, political analyst. I want to first begin with Mr. Gade. Mr. Gade, do you have answers to the questions that are being asked by these families? 672 families, their dreams broken, looted, cheated. Any answers?
Firstly, any corrupt netas from any political parties, if there is corruption, there needs to be a crackdown on it. Secondly, why is the ED notices served only to opposition parties? Because this is dangerous for the democracy. If you go to see, I quote to you, there is a BJP MP from Sangli who last year said, I don't need to fear the ED because I'm in the BJP. There is also one former Congress leader who has entered into BJP, a big neta. He also said last year, it's good I joined the BJP. I get sound sleep because I have joined the BJP. So this is a big message going around in the country. If you're in the opposition party, then only you will...
Mr. Gade, aren't you contradicting yourself? On one hand, you say whoever indulges in corruption should be punished. On the other hand, you're saying selectively only leaders of the opposition are being targeted. But I'm not asking you about Shiv, about Mr. Sanjay Raut or your allegations against the BJP or even, in fact, the agency. I'm talking about these families who have been cheated. Corruption definitely has happened.
Yes, these families need to get justice, and yes, the court, the law will take its course. And if you go to see one more point, which is very important, ma'am, if you allow me to talk, is why is it that when a political leader enters the BJP, he is pure of his whatever ED charges he's got and all. Now also there are some MLAs who have joined the BJP faction in the government. They have been served ED notices. So there is nothing happening to them after they have joined the BJP. So why is it selective? My point is only that it should not be selective. Any person
should an individual be let off without an inquiry, without an investigation, just because in today's times they belong to a party which is in opposition? Is that the logic? Is that the argument?
No. See, it should be from every party. Why is it that only the opposition parties
in this particular case? Okay, in this particular case, Sanjay Raut is under the lens.
Yes.
So let the investigation complete. Let the investigation take place. Instead of drawing conclusions that this is vendetta, that he is being targeted, let the agencies reach a conclusion.
Yes, we cannot have an open court on the news media. And
absolutely.
There is a law in our country.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm saying let the ED reach a conclusion. That's why I'm saying let ED reach a conclusion. Let ED take the matter to the court. Shaina NC, the allegation continues against the BJP that this is selective targeting of leaders in the opposition, and Mr. Raut is a victim of that.
So let's go back to when this scam actually opened. It was 2008. It was in 2014 that they got active evidence. It is now when there is substantive evidence based on proof that there has been a 1,034 crore scam. Now, if we actually look at this objectively, what is the Enforcement Directorate doing? It's taking action against perpetrators of crime who have resorted to money laundering, who have resorted to all kinds of practices, where 672 tenants, a lot of whom you have shown have even lost lives just fighting for what they believe is promised flats, which were not delivered. The redevelopment project, where you had fraudulent builders like HDILs in colludes with politicians. I only want to ask one question. Is anybody above the law? If they're not, please let the honorable courts decide, let the investigative agencies decide what is the course of correction and what is the course of action. For all those who say that this is BJP, I only want to say the Enforcement Directorate has recovered thousands of crores in this past time, where there have been multiple cases which have been against the corrupt, against the people who are into money laundering, against the people who believe that they are in positions of power and are insulated and nobody will touch them. So this is a very positive signal in the right direction, without sitting on judgment as to what happened, whether it was Praveen Raut, Sanjay Raut, loans being given back and forth, properties being bought. I don't think we need to sit on judgment. Let the honest truth come out. Nobody is going to be a victim, but nobody is going to be politically
somebody has defrauded these families, 672 families. I want to bring in senior journalist Varun Singh as well. Varun Singh, houses clearly have not been built for the families. The rent that was supposed to be paid to them also stopped in 2015. At this point of time, of course, apart from the political blame game, the focus entirely needs to be on the grievance of these families.
Absolutely. And as we have a Sena spokesperson, I would like to publicly thank the then social leader, Ravindra Vaikar, who was a Minister of State Housing in Devendra Fadnavis government, who actually ordered an investigation, a one-member investigation team comprising of then Housing Secretary Shrikant Singh, who carried out an investigation after him, Sanjay Kumar, who became the Housing Secretary. And in 2017, April, he submitted a report clearly stating that there is a problem, there is a scam that has happened in Patra Chawl, and after that the investigations went ahead. EOW ED in 2018, the case was registered, and that is when Sanjay Raut, next with Praveen Raut, started stumbling out of this whole thing. There is always this thing that the EDs attacking only leaders from the opposition. I am not a BJP spokesperson, but let me tell you, even BJP leader in November, as late as November 2020, has been arrested from Surat in Gujarat. His name is TVS Sharma. The other fellow has been arrested in October 2021. He is B.R. Ramesh. He is a close aide of Yadurappa. So the ED is acting against everyone.
All right.
And just one small thing, Swatij. ED, CBI and IT are independent agencies. Let them work. And if you are not corrupt, if you have not done any wrong, then don't be scared of it. These are not my words. These are Sanjay Raut's words when notices were served to Raj Thackeray in 2018-19. These are not my words.
All right. Varun Singh, stay on. I want to bring in Meeta Chakrabarti as well. Meeta Chakrabarti, it's very important here to highlight the plight of these families. And also, the party that always talks about Marathi Asmita and fighting for the cause of Marathi Asmita, shouldn't that party today actually be demanding answers and in public take a stand that yes, you need to figure out who really is responsible for this instead of playing this whole political vendetta blame game?
Okay, good evening, and some uninterrupted time, please. First of all, in recent times, and I'm just placing some hardcore data, there had been a 27 times increase in the number of cases registered under ED in the past 8 years. However, the conviction rate remains less than 1%. It is 0.5%. So my first concern is that how come that ED interrogations are happening? There are more than 3,000 raids that have been conducted. But are these raids being conducted only to create a political narrative, a political perception in the media? Or are they actually going to be held accountable to bring it to a logical conclusion? And would the guilty be actually booked and arrested? My second query is, why are likes of Shubhendu Adhikari, Mukul Roy, Hemant Vishwa Sharma, Shubhendu Adhikari was seen accepting money on camera? How come there is not a charge sheet that has been filed in Sharoda Naroda scam against Shubhendu Adhikari, who stands as a tall BJP leader? Why is it seen that
we are indulging in political blame game? I'm asking a very simple question. Haven't these families been defrauded? Weren't they promised that houses will be built for them? What happened to that? That is my plain and simple question. But what we are witnessing at this point of time is that the entire focus has been taken away from that, and the focus is on the political blame game, which continues. But stay on with us. I think we once again need to listen to those families. Let's play out those reactions.
ये सब 2008 में एक ट्राईपार्टी एग्रीमेंट हुआ है और ये पहला एग्रीमेंट हुआ है और वो अभी तक वो पूरा नहीं हुआ है. पहली बार ऐसा हुआ है, लेकिन उसको कुछ सक्सेस हुआ नहीं और लोग 5 साल से हमें भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है. 5 साल से काम बंद था और आज हम लोग भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है. वो सबसे बड़ा परेशानी वही है हमारी आज.
ऐसा है कि पहले हम लोग हमारी पहले की कमेटी पे डिपेंड रहा करते थे कि वो कमेटी कुछ तो करेगी, लेकिन जब पता चला कि भाई ये कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, जहाँ तक कि वो बिल्डर को टर्मिनेट करने का था, एक लेटर तक नहीं दिया भाड़ा में उन्होंने, ना कहीं किसी के बारे में कि भाई इन पे अन्याय और इनको भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है. तो उसके बाद में हमने लड़ाई थोड़ी संघर्ष तीव्र कर लिया. हमने उपोषण किया, 2 बार भाड़ा पे मोर्चा लेके गए थे हम लोग. एक बार हमने उपोषण किया तो देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहब आए थे. वेरी इमीडिएटली उद्धव साहब का भी फोन आया कि भाई आप ये उपोषण पीछे लो, मेरी सरकार है, मैं आपको न्याय दिला दूंगा. उसके बाद कोर्ट कचहरी तो रेगुलर रहा करता था और ईओडब्ल्यू में भी कंप्लेंट हमने की थी. नई कमेटी ने तो बहुत तकलीफ दी थी हम लोगों को, सही बात है. उसके बाद चुनाव हुआ, चुनाव में हम लोग हमारे 19 के 19 पैनल चुन के आए.
मारा बोलते आज मिलेगा, वो सरकार बोलते आज मिलेगा, कभी मिलेगा, मिलने का बाद कितना लोग मरा रूम करके, फिर रूम तो नहीं मिला. अभी भी बोलते हैं रूम देंगे, भाड़ा देंगे, कभी देंगे, हम लोग मरने के बाद देंगे. अगर भाड़ा
मिस्टर गड़े, Kab milega ghar? That is the question that these people are asking. It's been 14 years. The wait continues. In fact, one of them also said कि उद्धव सरकार ने फोन किया था और उद्धव सरकार की तरफ से कहा गया था कि आप ये हंगर स्ट्राइक वापस लीजिए, justice will be done. Then how is it political vendetta today? What about these families, sir?
Yes, these families need justice, definitely. And as you say, the case has been registered and the law will take its course. And if you allow, as you have invited us on your show, to put our views, so if you allow, can I continue ahead?
Absolutely. I have given you more time than the other panelists. Please go ahead. Please go ahead now, Mr. Gade, if you can hear me.
Hello. Yes, now I can. Sorry, there was a connection problem.
All right, go ahead.
I was saying, as you have invited us on the show, so
I've heard that, sir, and I said I've given you more time than other panelists.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Yes. So definitely, as the BJP, Ms. Shaina also said, the courts, the law will decide what is action to be taken against this. But my only concern is, why is it only the opposition leaders are being served the ED notices if you go to see in such, and the conviction rate is very low. It is very dangerous for the democracy.
Haven't these families been waiting for 14 years, sir?
Yes, but if you go to see, there are so many leaders who have been served ED notices, and once they go into BJP,
you also want to find out who defrauded them. Don't you want the investigation? Don't you want the guilty, the culprits to be punished?
Yes, the culprits should be punished.
Absolutely. Then let the investigations conclude. Let the investigations conclude. Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. Instead of building narratives.
Let me finish at least. The investigation should go on if the culprits should be punished. Yes. And also, if we want to have a healthy democracy, we should not hide the politicians. If they enter the ruling party, if they enter the BJP, then they are rid of the sins. This is also wrong. Because for a
all right, you know, that's all the time I have. That's all the time I have. As far as these families are concerned, it's been 14 years. They are still waiting. Houses were promised to them, but they were ultimately defrauded. Now, when the investigation has picked up pace, there are narratives of this being a political vendetta. BJP and Shiv Sena blaming each other for what really is happening on ground. Thank you very much, gentlemen, Shaina NC and Meeta Chakrabarti for joining us.